Welcome, everybody, to the LinkedIn for B2B Growth Show. I'm your host, Michelle J. Raymond, and I am joined by the design whisperer, Emma Wright. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
Now, for those people who don't know who Emma is, I'm going to tell you, she is the person that brought the vision to life for Operation Rebrand. And when I say she brought it to life, I have no idea how she did it, but it was absolutely magical. So, Emma, I'm just going to start this show by telling everyone I am so grateful that our paths crossed on LinkedIn because you have done an amazing job and I can't wait to tell everyone about it.
Thank you so much.
Michelle, it's a wonderful thing to work with a client who appreciates the work in such a way that you do. I find that really refreshing. It's not just, hey, let's deliver a bunch of things. It's nice to see that
You love what we're doing.
I think when it comes to the whole visual brand part of my brand, it's the part that I put off till last. It's the part that I probably had to go at a few times, mostly DIY, because honestly, I didn't know how to go to someone like you and say, this is what I need or want, because I didn't know what I needed or wanted. But one of the questions I have been asked so many times right now, Emma, and I want your opinion on it. How do people know it's time for a visual rebrand?
Look, I think it's time for a visual rebrand when it no longer feels authentic to you and where you're going. I think that's when I knew I needed to rebrand my business. I think it's a case of, does this logo, does this brand, does this presence, does it feel like the kind of business that I want to operate? Does it feel like the kind of businesses that I want to work with? Does it feel like the the space in which I'm operating anymore? Am I still operating at this level, or have we really elevated the offering that we're giving to people? So I think when you feel that the way you're showing up in business and the way you're showing up in the world is no longer representative of who you are and where you are, I think you go, okay, cool, like it's time for a reset, it's time for a restart.
I couldn't describe it better. Sometimes it felt like it was a rock in my shoe, and sometimes I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm wearing clothes that have gone out of fashion. And it just didn't suit me anymore. And I leveled up in so many areas of my business. Sometimes I'm making mistakes, sometimes deliberately. I tried certain things and liked or loathed them. And then over time, I finally, and we're at roughly 3 years, I think, since my journey began, where now I'm finally like, I think I've got this. I think I know. And then all of a sudden, everything felt so uncomfortable. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't have this anymore.
Yeah.
Quick, I've got to get it fixed. And there's probably another part, Emma, I was a bit scared of, if I'm being honest. I was scared of investing money
Yeah.
and not getting the right thing, or something that just I gave them the wrong instructions and then I had to redo it all again. Do you have
Yeah.
clients that come to you in that position? I'm sure you do. I can't be the only one, surely.
No, absolutely not. I think a lot of business owners, blessedly, are fantastic at what they do, right? They're fantastic at whatever it is that they do. They might be great hairdressers, they might be great sellers, they might be fantastic software developers, right? But working out how to then market and position that service or that business or that product isn't what they do best. And that's why you then need to choose the kind of designers or marketers that can help you bring that to life and work with you to craft an image for your business that will take you to the next level and will take you forward into the future. And it is about finding the right fit and about finding the right person to work with. But it's also about accepting that you don't know what you don't know. And there's no need for those business owners to be experts in rebranding. That's not your job. And that's all right. You don't have to be perfect at everything in order to be great at business.
I think I'm guilty as charged. There's a certain element of my personality that prides myself on being able to figure stuff out. And back in the beginning, when there's not money coming in, you're thinking, I just pay everyone to do everything. But even at the beginning, I don't think even with a blank check, I could have made the right decisions. I confess, I had no idea what I was doing when it comes to branding. I've got a whole
Yeah.
book called the LinkedIn Branding Book where I share about this journey. And I put it down to, in the beginning, that it was about a logo and some pretty colors. Again, I'm sorry, okay? It's a blanket sorry from me. But tell me, visual branding is more than just pretty colors. As much as I love the new ones that you've created for B2B Growth Co, but tell me, how does a visual rebrand help businesses to achieve their goals or target a new audience? Because that's what this is for me. This is why I've
Yeah.
invested money with you to have an overhaul. But how does it all come together?
Look, your visual brand is about setting the tone for the kind of business that you are, and that attracts your ideal customer. So if you are a B2B business that looks like a high-end luxury real estate brand, see them reasonably often because that's what's trendy. Are you talking to the customer that you want to attract? Are you talking to the person that you want to work with? Probably not, because visually you're so out of kilter with what your customer is doing. And so it is about how you show up in the world. It is about how your business is putting itself forward. Do you look and feel like the ideal vendor for that business? Do you speak the same language? It's those kinds of ideas as to how a visual rebrand allows us to engage with the right target audience. You've got to balance that with an ability to be disruptive and be engaging with consumers. So for instance, you're working in the B2B space. People would say shocking pink, peak magenta, maybe not the right colour for that space. But you and I know that the colours that we've chosen for your brand speak to the different pillars of who you are. It's about that pink is your personality, the turquoise is for your mum, and then we've got this beautiful corporate blue, which ties into LinkedIn branding, but also into B2B corporate world. And how do we balance Michelle as a person and your personality with the needs to appeal to those corporate businesses? How do we be disruptive in the space while also talking to the audience where they're at? It's the balance of all these different elements in creating a brand that works to grow your business and to target your ideal customers. The other thing that's really important for a visual rebrand is it gives you a reason to talk really loudly about your business. It gives you a reason to go, hey, we're doing something new, we're doing something different, we're changing how we're doing things, we're repositioning, we're retargeting, we're moving in a different direction. And that it's just like a little permission slip to go, hey, we've got something really cool going on here, we're doing something different, let's talk about it really loudly.
Operation Rebrand has been exactly that for me. Every post that I do, sharing all the little bits and pieces. Now, I've brought my logo up on the screen so people can see how you amazingly brought everything together. And for
Thank
those
you.
that will be listening to this podcast, it is the combination of the blue, the pink, and the turquoise, or as it used to be called, teal for my mom. And I love that what happened was we didn't lose me in this. What we did is took what I had started with that felt good and you just leveled it up. And my reason for doing this unashamedly is that I want to charge premium prices, and I do. And I want every experience that people who interact with me to have a premium experience. Now, my website currently is not that, and it's something that we don't mention. When I looked at it, I wasn't proud of it. Those people that were coming to my website did not get the same experience as if you do training with me, as if you see my content, you listen to the podcast. I'm not putting out their shoddy stuff, but then the visual side of it all of a sudden I was like, you're the weakest link. Goodbye. It's time for you to go. And that's what started to happen for me. That's why I started to look at it. I was like, this does not reflect who I am or where I want to go, more importantly. And it's been interesting because of the conversations that people might think it's just colors, but it's not. It is so much more than just colors. And it's so much more than just fonts that we picked. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes about why those things are selected. And I love that what the process has taught me, you, by asking me questions about that kind of stuff, I had to choose who I wanted to target. And on one hand, I had those solopreneurs and business owners, consultants, that type of thing. And on the other hand, I had my B2B corporates, and they're two very different customers. But I had to pick so that I could go forward. And I think they're the things that people don't realize, that yes, it's a visual rebrand, but it's so much bigger.
It is about asking those questions, right? It's about going, where do I want to go? And it's this combination between design and marketing where I think if I, as the graphic designer, then I've got to be combining the two elements together. I've got to combine the design with the positioning and the marketing and ask you those questions about your business. Those things all have to work together. We can create you a logo that looks like everyone else or looks completely unique or is completely over here doing its own thing. But what bearing does that have on what your business looks like? What bearing does that have on where you're going and what your marketing looks like and how you want to position yourself? They all should work together. And this is the difference between working with a designer and someone with a marketing background. And it's the difference between working with someone potentially overseas or paying $10 for a logo on Fiverr, right? It's the difference in the choices. And everyone makes different choices at different stages in their business. And it's not about judgment. That's just where the difference lies. It's in that value and it's in those questions that are going to drive you forward, drive your business forward, and lead you to different outcomes.
And I think the other thing as well, the difference for me, and I did choose to work with someone locally for me personally. And again, it's not right or wrong. It's not a judgment.
Yeah.
It's just, I wanted to work with someone who would say no to me. And you did that a couple of times. You're like, hell no, Michelle, we're not doing that. And I was like, oh, okay, why? And you were able to explain why it wasn't such a good idea. And I think it's important that you work with someone that doesn't just agree with you, because I am not the expert. No matter how much I might think I know stuff, I don't know marketing. I don't know design to the level and experience that you have. So I think that power of pushback is what I loved about working with you. But then the other side, you would, listen to my feedback and get maybe a bigger picture or a different perspective about where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to do about things that I know really well, like LinkedIn and B2B. And then we found that middle ground that worked from a design perspective and worked from how I see the vision for my business perspective. And I love how those things are coming together, and we're still friends, we're still going, and we've still got more to go.
Absolutely. And look, when we first sat down and had a conversation about your logo, I've got pages of notes because we talked all the way around the world and around the sun and back again, right? We're talking about where you've been, we're talking about where you're going, we're talking about, the things that you do like and you don't like. And those things have to play a part in your brand. You have to show up with that logo on your shirt. Love it. Love the polos, by the way. Love that you're putting your brand into action from the get-go. But you've got to show up with that on your chest every day. So it's got to be something that you love, but it's also got to work for your business. And it's pulling all these different threads and these different ideas together that creates a brand and that creates something that's successful.
If you had to write a list of what you would recommend people look for when they're trying to find the right person to work with. Now, I have been down the Fiverr path. I've tried other local ones. I've tried expensive. I've tried cheap along the way. I've tried doing it myself, as I've shared. What do you think is a good checklist, or how should people assess whether someone might be the right fit to have that conversation with?
We can't discount the importance of an interpersonal fit. I know that business owners are working with a professional to deliver a service or to deliver a product, and that's fine, but you've got to find someone that you mesh with and you gel with, because we are talking about something that is quite personal. And so that personal edge in creating a design that you will wear on your chest or that you will show up in the world with, you want someone who's going to get you, who's going to get what you're about. That personal alignment's really important. I would always be looking for someone who's done this kind of work before, right? Transforming businesses is a particular skill set. Working with logo designs is a particular skill set. Also, if you were looking for custom illustration for the cover of a book, you probably wouldn't go to someone who specializes in logo designs. They're very separate skills, albeit they all fall under the banner of graphic design. The difference is things like branding, web design, assets for social media. They all fall into the same bucket. It's all about how businesses are presenting themselves. But it is important to look for someone who's done that kind of transformation process. You also want to look for someone, when you have those initial interviewing conversations, they've got ideas. They feel like they've got a bit of energy about it, and they go, oh, but we could do this. And they rattle off some things. So I think in that initial phone call that you and I had, I think one of the first things I mentioned was about color. It was about going, you're a digital business, you're doing a lot of your things online, you're working with digital platforms. Cool, so we've got to think digital first. Colour, that came up very early in the conversation for you and I. And that point, that theme has been fantastic for us. It's been a great touchstone in terms of how we're moving forward, how we've evolved your brand. Let's talk about the pink and the turquoise. Those two colours in your previous brand iteration were quite different, right? Whereas we've adjusted those tones as part of that digital first approach, which has evolved that element of your brand in bringing it in line with these other elements. You as the business owner don't want to be sitting there trying to come up with all the ideas and have all the answers. We spoke about this before. You can't be everything as a business owner. And so you do want to work with someone who's got their own ideas, who will come to you and go, oh, I've had this thought, I've had this idea. What if we did this and this? Even if you don't love it, it might evolve a conversation and it might give you an opportunity to move some things forward that you hadn't really thought about or that hadn't crossed your mind.
There's been so much of that. And I think one of the first confessions that I had when we met on that first call was, dear Emma, my brain cannot picture anything. So when I close my eyes and you tell me to imagine an apple, I just see black. I know what an apple is. I know what it looks like. I can describe an apple in words, but I can't see it in my mind. So when a lot of designers that I've tried to work with before, they're like, Michelle, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. It will feel like this. It will sound like this. I want people to get this impression, and I can describe it in lots and lots of words. I can probably tell you what I don't want, but if you ask me to come with a preconceived idea, that is where this thing falls over. And I think it's probably why it's been such a block for me for so long, is because I was like, I don't know what to ask you for because it's not my space. And that's probably why I've done so much DIY as well, to play around with things, because when I see it, I can go, oh, I hate that, or I love that. But if you'd said to me, what kind of a logo would you like, Michelle? I can assure you it is not the one I'm proudly wearing on my chest right now. There's no chance in hell that I would have picked that. I was like, I love triangles. There's not a triangle really in sight. I mean, a little bit at the top of the arrow. Ultimately, it was that you took a bunch of words and ideas and conversations and questions and answers, and we turned that into this magic, which just still blows me away. And I do wear it proudly. I do tell people, and I love that so many people in my community, they're on team Operation Rebrand. They're like, we
100%.
love seeing how this is going. And it's inspiring other people to have a look at what's going on. But I talk about Operation Rebrand. So that is the visual rebrand of what is also a name change. So I would Trading Co. to B2B Growth Co. Huge change, like ginormous. It was time for me to grow up. It was time for me to grow a business intentionally. And I think that's the difference this time around for the next evolution, is it's all intentional. Operation Rebrand. Let's tell people how this came together. So I'd been following you on LinkedIn. I have no idea when we connected. It was ages ago, like ages. I don't mean to sound like you're not important, but I have no idea how we connected or where you came across in my world. I wouldn't say, in fairness, that you've particularly posted an enormous amount of content, but I remember when I saw things, I think it was like your sister you did some work for, you put a whole bunch of stuff together. I remember noticing that. I filed you in the back of my brain. It's not like we were connecting and talking. And then as time went on, and I was thinking, yeah, I think for some reason I just had a gut feeling you were the right person for the job. And I'm connected to a lot of designers in my community. And then unfortunately, there was like a period you disappeared. And I was like, oh my God, she was like my dream person. She's gone. But then there was a real reason for that. You had to go and become a mum, which is a fair excuse, right? So I forgive you for that.
But it was when I popped up again post-maternity leave and said, hey, doing some new things, let's see what happens in this next phase. And you were in my inbox in a minute and you were like, oh my God,
I think I pounced as soon as I saw that post, and thank God for the LinkedIn algorithm. I saw the post. Now's the perfect time. The universe aligned. So what's our process? Let's talk people through about what we actually did. So you mentioned that we had that first initial call. What are you trying to get from someone like me during that call?
What I'm trying to do is get as much out of you as I possibly can. But what I'm trying to do is get a sense of where you've been, what you do, what you don't like. And words is fine, screenshots is fine, sketches on Post-it notes is fine in that process. It's about opening a conversation and having a dialogue between myself and the client. There's, okay, what words, themes, feelings can we extract from this person in this process so that we can work out what the visuals look like that work with that. So it doesn't matter if you don't know what it looks like, what you want your rebrand to look like. That's not the point. The point is to pull that out in a process. What it is important for you to know or to think about even in that process, I've had many a conversation in interviewing people for a logo where they go, I've actually really reassessed what customer I want to be dealing with. But it is about, well, what does your business look like now? Where do you want it to go? How do we pull out some key themes? And like I said to you, in that conversation, what I did was sat down with a notebook and wrote 1,000 things and sketched little doodads and bits and pieces, little triangles. You specifically said you didn't love circles in logos, but the reasons we've evolved that are very apparent. And this is where that pushback and that collaborative approach becomes really important. You were talking about ideas of growth. You were talking about the 3 pillars of your business that was something that absolutely twigged in my brain, was about the executive, the employee, and the enterprise. And I went, 3 pillars is a fun thing. That's a fun thing for us to work off. But initially I thought, cool, we can do some sort of diagram, some sort of infographic that we can incorporate into the website. And that then got filed somewhere else. But look, it's ended up as part of that core logo. And it is about getting all these different ideas and all these different themes and putting them together. And then I go away and I do what I do, right? And I go and I draw some shapes, and it usually starts in a really physical sense for me, because it allows me to really quickly process ideas, right? And the idea is then to come back with you with a number of different concepts, a number of different ideas that I can put in front of you and go, these are the things that I'm trying to incorporate in this concept. And then these are these other things that we spoke about that get incorporated over here. And usually I come back with 3 or 4, sometimes 5 different concepts, slight variations on concepts. And I go, tell me what's resonating. None of it might be resonating at this point. And that's totally fine, because we go, okay, cool. We need to go back to that drawing board. We need to go back to that initial script of the conversation that we had. We need to go back to those sketches and go, what are other ways to present these ideas? And sometimes it is about exploring those ideas in slightly different ways. It might be outlines as opposed to filled. It might be slightly adjusting bits and pieces and going, well, does this tell that story? Does that give that message a way that resonates more with the business owner? And it then becomes iterative once you see something where you go, ooh, there's something there. And I think that was the case for you, wasn't it? You went, ooh, there's something here. How do we resolve this?
The funny thing with the logo is, and I remember our conversation, I was like, I don't want to get chucked in with LinkedIn blue. I don't want LinkedIn blue. And you're like, Michelle, you do so much LinkedIn. We've got to highlight that somehow. And I was like, but I don't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I really love triangles. And you gave me, let's say it was 5 designs.
Yeah.
And 4 of them were based on triangles. And then the one that I ended up going with, which is the one on the screen and the B2B Growth Code logo that is around places, that is the one that I went with, which had nothing to do with what I originally went to you and said, I like these kind of things. Straight away when I saw it, I was like, I think I really like that one, but it was the first one. So I was like, oh, I can't like the first one. And so I asked my partner, Lil, I was like, what do you think? Because her and I are so opposites.
Yeah.
And she was like, I really like that first one. And I was like, yeah, so do I. Hang on, 2 opposite people really like it. So of course I went and asked the audience. So Michelle Griffin, like, here's my latest WhatsApp message. And she's, oh, I love that one. And so it's been brilliant to see not just how you interpreted words, but you gave me something I didn't even particularly think I wanted in the beginning. Yeah. And now I just absolutely love it. Other people love it. I know my friend John Asperian, when he saw it, he's like, most logos leave you a little deflated. And this one I love. And he reached out to both of us to tell us. So for me, it was like those kind of processes. I had to decide as part of this. And again, you helped me with this just by asking conversations. We had to choose, do I go down the Michelle J. Raymond path, or do I go down the B2B Growth Code path? And that's a huge decision. Most people recommend go with my own name, build my personal brand. Gary V, shout out to you, or Brene Brown, all of those people, they go their own name. And I was like, that's not right for me. As much as right now, I am my name and my business revolves around that. I'm planning for the future and growing into it. And so
Yep.
we left the door open if I want to sell my business. We left the door open if I have employees come and work with me. I didn't want to make it all about me. So that was a huge decision that kind of came
Massive.
through in this process. And again, if I'd worked with someone who didn't have the experience that you do, their advice would have been go Michelle J. Raymond, and kept pushing me down that path,
Yeah.
of which I would have probably pushed back pretty hard on that because I knew what I was up to. And I guess for me personally, then taking that and updating it in different places, it's amazing how invigorating it is in my business to bring this to life. It has energized me. It has made me want to be better and get this thing out there. But the process has been not what I expected. And I think that's the beauty of finding the right person to work with, because I'm sure it's not always this fun for you either, Emma. And I'm
Yes,
saying it's fun, right? You are having fun.
I'm having a great time. Don't even worry.
I've been updating stuff every
Yeah,
which way, from the podcast
you're
to
gonna be
banners on
busy.
YouTube, thumbnails,
Mm.
you name it. Why is it important to just not do it in one place and make sure you roll it out everywhere?
You know what? It is all about how you want to be perceived. Do you want to be showing up in your business and in your professional life and in the world as a professional, as someone who is of high value, who delivers a high quality service? Is that how you want to be perceived? Then that is how you need to appear. If you don't present yourself in the way that you want people to interact with you, in the style and the approach that you take with your business, how can you convince people that's who you are? How can you convince people to buy from you and work with you if you don't show up in the world that way? And so that consistency element, and it's so hard to do, like hand on heart, it is so hard to do. And I know you've done an exceptional amount of work. Also, let's not discount the work that you did before we worked together, right? Because your visual consistency is one thing, but that sense of purpose and that authenticity and understanding where your business is at and where you're going, that is part of what informs how you will move forward from a visual brand perspective. The two have to work in tandem. And you had done a huge amount of work for your business and on your business before you came to me. And that sets a great foundation for the work that we've then done. But in terms of moving forward, you've got to then go, okay, that consistency, I'm going to put my best foot forward every single time. I'm going to make sure that I'm showing up for large corporations in the ways that they would show up in the world, which is with consistency, with high quality items, with purpose. I'm going to do the same thing because those are the customers that I want to work with. And if I want to work with those kinds of businesses, I almost have to act like a mirror. I almost have to sit here and reflect them back to themselves in a way, right? And so that visual brand alignment across your platforms, you never know where a customer's going to discover you. They might find you on YouTube. They might find you on LinkedIn. Oh God, I would hope they find you on LinkedIn. They might find you on Instagram, but you want that consistency to be apparent any which way a customer comes into that funnel for you. You want them to get a sense of who you are now and what your business is now and who you're going to become, even if you're not quite there yet. You want them to get that sense from the very get-go, from the minute they start working with you and the minute they discover you. You want them to see you in your best light, not who you were 2 years ago or 6 months ago or, God forbid, 10 years ago, because we all look back at who we were and cringe a little bit, and we all look back at our previous iterations of business or websites and cringe a little bit. And you don't want your customers to have that impression. You want them to see you as you are now. And so having that audit list and knowing about all the places that you need to update your presence is so key to that process and working through it. It's not an overnight process. You know that better than anyone. It is not an overnight process. And you've made it more challenging for yourself by changing your business name at the same time, right? And I understand why you've done it, but my gosh, it is a process.
Yeah. So I've been talking about rebranding. So let's forget about the evolution of my business for 3 years, but I've been talking
Sure.
about this whole rebrand process since the beginning of this year on the LinkedIn branding show with Michelle. And I've been sharing my challenges. I just felt like I was like this butterfly that was still stuck in the cocoon, trying to break out. And I wasn't quite there, but I knew what my potential was.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the clarity to be able to just take that next step forward and make that leap. And so for me, so we're in August now and we have been working together for probably a month or so now. Changing a business name means every single email address. So we've
Yeah.
changed email addresses. I've had to change every login. I've had to unsubscribe. I changed the color on the background of my profile photo. Do you know how many places that profile shows up across the internet? It
Yeah.
is insane. I can't even tell you how much little changes,
Yeah.
footers, social links. I literally took the time to update my LinkedIn link for my profile because
Yeah.
it was set up with my old business name. My Calendly link had GTC in it, which was Good Trading Co. Gone. That means everything's broken and everything needs to be fixed. My typical thing in my personality is to try and kill myself to try and do it all in 5 minutes and get it all updated. I realize this thing is so big. I've given myself to the end of the year and it may even take longer, but that is literally how big this is and how time consuming this is. This is the focus project that I've got for this year. I know that it will pay back in spades. I also know the cost of what's happened. I've had some people reach out and literally because they work for multinational global companies ask me almost was I a real business? That for me was almost like the kicker that I needed to address this. And I've been through that process. I'm going through that process. It is worth it. I'm loving seeing it come together. I feel like I'm almost that little butterfly that's out. When the website's done, then I think I'm going to be like, yes, and high-fiving myself.
Yeah.
And even that's still a process and I need to ask for help around the place. Emma, I love to end the show with an actionable tip. Everything that you've shared has been that, but is there one last thing that you'd like to say to anyone out there that's considering a rebrand, visual rebrand across whether it's their website, LinkedIn, socials, whatever? What would you say to them? One last piece of advice.
I think the first thing that you need to do is sit in your brand for a minute. Just sit and think about what your logo looks like and how your brand is showing up in the world and go, does this feel like me? Does this feel like where I'm going? Does this feel like what I want my business to be 12 months from now? Just ask the question. Because if you can sit there and tell me that you're happy with where it is, I love that for you. Stick with your brand as it is right now. But if you go, oh, I don't want to put that forward, I don't want that to be the face of what I'm doing for the next 12 months, then reach out and let's have a conversation. Because why would you continue to show up in the world in a way that wasn't authentic to you and that didn't feel good and didn't set you up for great growth? And you've just got to ask that question. I think that's the most actionable thing that any of us can do is just sit and ask the question. Is this how I want to show up in the world for the next 12 months?
And for me, the answer was no. So thank you so much because it is almost at the point where I'm like, yes, this now feels right. This now feels and looks like I would want it to reflect me and my business that I'm building and continue to work with the best customers around the world. I love my job and this is just elevating things and the experience for other people in interacting with my business. Emma, I'm going to share your contact details in the show notes so people should reach out and connect with you.
Please do.
I am very happy to be your ongoing reference. If anyone wants to know what this process has been like and you haven't listened to this podcast, I'll be sharing it with other people for sure. So thank you. Thank you. And to everyone that's listening in, can't wait to bring you another amazing episode next week. So hope everyone enjoyed. I know I certainly have learned even more things that I need to go and think about. If you've got a question about rebranding, reach out to Emma because she's my go-to expert. Cheers.